Hey, there we are. Three of us here once again on Miami Total Football Radio. Almost did it. Radio, the show, aka Miami Total Football Radio, the show. Jose Armando, as you can see, wearing that awful orange, and Andrea Yanis with a straightened hair look. Look at Andreita; she came ready with the straight hair look on this week's episode. My name is Franco Panizo. Welcome back for you listeners and viewers. It's the favorite Honduran couple. Yeah, I know you guys liked my tweet earlier this week when I said Honduras no ha visto una pareja así desde. Come on, who did I compare you guys to?
Suazo y Guevara, dijiste.
That's right. That's right. Because you guys were killing it on the Tuesday practice. It was a chilly Tuesday training session, and Jose and Andrea were wearing camo sweaters or camo long sleeves. Jose's was green. Or am I getting it
No.
backwards? Yours was
No, mine
white.
was green.
Yes.
Yeah. Jose was white.
Andrea's was
Yeah.
green. Jose's was like white. I mean, it was a fantastic look. Maybe I'll pull up the picture before this show ends. But anyway, Jose, welcome back. We'll start with you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I think, this is the time where you start like reflecting on the season and you're going to start missing the long drives to Fort Lauderdale. Maybe not. Um, I think if this is in any way the end of a year that I think we envisioned at some point, but we never thought it would actually happen. So for me, I'm doing good and reflecting a little bit on 2023 and the whole messy thing that happened here in South Florida.
The whole messy thing. Mira, look at this. And I know we have to figure this out because I realize the comment section isn't as cooperative when there's three of us. Because when I click it here, see, it pushes us all away. But Lou Lopez says hasta fin, the power couple of Miami Total Football Radio returns. So that, of course, takes us to Andrea. Andreita, how are you doing this evening?
Good. I'm good. I'm feeling good. We're like 10 minutes late because we're having technical issues, but we figured it out. So we're here. We're ready to talk about it. And as I was saying, yesterday was a little bit bittersweet because it was the last game of the season. It
Home
ended
game.
differently than huh?
The last home game of the season. There's still one left.
Yeah, well, yeah, because even though if we would or were traveling to Charlotte, they are not playing in an MLS stadium. They're playing in a NFL stadium. So for me, that doesn't count. So it was it was the last game of the real MLS game of the season, and it ended completely different than it ended last year. And well, we were expecting it to end this way. I think from the team, only Simon thought that they could go to a playoffs, and we were expecting this, but it was completely different than it was last year because last year they scrapped in and at least got that. So this year they've got a title, but they didn't make it to a playoff. So it was a little bit bittersweet, the stadium with all the changes with Messi and everything. So, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I'm ready to talk about it and to curious to see what opinion do people have about all this messy situation, like Jose saying, and about the team and about everything, right? Because I guess yesterday was a big show of things that could happen if this project doesn't come to fruition next year.
I don't know what Jose is saying, but Andrea just, I don't know if she threw you under the bus, but she put you in the spotlight, Jose. So we'll get to that later. We'll get to that later, what Jose is saying. If you guys are new or if you're old, please give us a follow, a like, a subscribe. It is free and it helps us out tremendously. Now, before we get to the soccer, I have to ask Andrea, is the hair straightened because the weather is cooler, because the forecast and the temperatures have dropped? Is that why we're seeing straight hair, Andrea? Straight hair, afisita.
Yes,
Is that,
exactly.
yes?
Because I listen, I would be crazy if I straighten my hair to sweat like a pig in every practice of Inter Miami in this Miami and South Florida heat because it's been crazy this year. So this cold that we had at the beginning of the week made me straighten out my hair, and that's why you are watching me without my signature curls this week.
Interesting, interesting. A change in approach from Andrea. Well, all right. Enough about hair. Enough about your guys' attire. We've got a lot to get to because, well, we haven't recorded since before the FC Cincinnati game that Inter Miami had at home. So there's been two matches. There's been an international break. There's been announcements about postseason tours. There's been rumors about preseason friendlies. A certain player signed a new contract and made his return. That's Gregory. So we've got a lot to talk about. This is going to be a jam-packed show. No way I think we get this underneath an hour and 10 minutes. But yeah, we'll do our best to keep it as concise and compact as possible. So a lot to get to. So we'll start with, I mean, people are still trickling in here. So let's start with what happened. Let's go chronologically here because that's going to lead us into what happened or what's happened. So Inter Miami played FC Cincinnati about what 2 weeks ago now, almost a week and a half ago, at home at DraftKings Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, and Inter Miami lost 1-0. A goal from Alvaro Barrial in the 78th minute. That effectively ended Inter Miami's season. It left them with no chances for the playoffs, sin posibilidades de llegar a los playoffs. So that was it for Inter Miami. We don't necessarily need to dive into the game a whole lot. We can talk about it a little bit. It's more about the talking points afterwards that have obviously come up because that defeat combined with yesterday's midweek draw, 2-2 stalemate at home against Charlotte FC, that has left Inter Miami in 14th place. Again, they're eliminated from playoff contention. So just quickly touching on that game, very quick analysis. So I know it's going to make you guys have to turn back some time there. Just what were your thoughts on that match? Messi did make his return in that game. Lionel Messi came off the bench in that one, but they still lost. Still were not able to end this winless run that they're on. So Jose, I'll start with you.
Well, yeah, Messi made a comeback, but he was not really thinking about winning that game. He was thinking about getting ready for the World Cup qualifiers. So yes, that was the comeback because he was actually on the field. But I think that his priority was with the national team. So it's not like what we saw in Leagues Cup. He was like really wanting to win that game. He didn't want to take any risks, and he needed the 30 minutes to be closer to where he wanted to be for the national team, and I think that's exactly what happened. And then we all know what this Inter Miami looks like without Messi. They're not as competitive, and they don't have that difference maker. I mean, they fight, but they don't have that player, that moment of brilliance that will take them, to the next level. So I think that's what happened.
They compete. They compete. Andrea, you were sitting next to me in the press box on that night, which was, I have the date here, October 7th, the Saturday. So, Andrea, I mean, we saw the game together as we normally do. I mean, Inter Miami, they had the better of the chances in the first half. They hit the post or the crossbar on 3 separate occasions, but couldn't find the back of the net. That ultimately proves costly because FC Cincinnati finds the winner in the second half. Again, we don't have to go into a whole lot of X's and O's, but kind of similar to what Jose said, without Messi, they're a team that we got a Figo appearance on the show.
Figo, there we go.
But you can't end the season without Figo. But it's more of the same, right? Even when they do have chances, they don't have that lethal finisher that's ruthlessly putting those chances away. And then on other occasions, they just don't have the guy that creates chances or clear-cut chances for them. So, Andrea, what were your thoughts on that defeat at home? A missed opportunity for Inter Miami, especially given how that first half went.
Well, I think they already knew that with the draw the week before against New York City FC, they were eliminated from the playoffs. It was going to be hard without Messi and with Cincinnati. And even with that, the team, I think the first half tried. It wasn't enough. And I think they were a little bit unlucky with one of the chances. But also Cincinnati is the best team in MLS. So once you have that many, like the three chances they had in the first 45 minutes, and they didn't take advantage of that, it was obvious that they were going to lose this game. And it came in the second half when Cincinnati went up. And as always, Inter Miami gives up goals very easily when Inter Miami is attacked. Not Busquets, not anyone who is playing in the midfield can stop it, and the defense can stop it either. So they suffer. They suffer, and they went that goal down. And even though they tried, once Messi came in, I think that I agree with Jose that Messi was a little bit constrained in that game. Even his shots, the three free kicks that he had, were not his usual. And it is what it is. I think they knew that even if they tied that game, even if they won that game, it was going to be very difficult to get to the playoffs. So I think that is what we saw on the field. That hunger that they had in the first half, I guess they might have seen the scores in other matches, and they thought, okay, this is impossible to do, and they ended up losing. But well, Messi came back. It served him well to play those minutes, and he went to his national team and had a good run of games.
But they played well in that first half against FC Cincinnati. They actually were the better team on the balance of things from the run of play in that first half. Again, 3 shots that hit the crossbar, and then the goal. The goal comes off of a Sergio Busquets turnover in Inter Miami's defensive third. He's trying to control the ball and move forward. Gets stripped of the ball. Cincinnati comes back, takes a shot. Drake Callender makes a save, and the rebound from Alvaro Barreal finds the bottom right corner. And that was it. That doomed Inter Miami to no playoff. They could not live to fight another day. So the bigger picture is they were eliminated from the playoffs, and that means Leagues Cup victory, U.S. Open Cup final appearance, but no trophy, and no playoffs. For you guys, actually, before I ask you guys, we're going to listen to DeAndre Yedlin and Drake Callender postgame, because I asked them both if they would deem the season a success. Because they won one trophy, the first trophy in franchise history. I don't know what your guys' takes are on that. We'll hear it in a moment. But let's hear what DeAndre Yedlin and Drake Callender had to say when I asked them if this season was a success.
DeAndre, it's a team effort, but since Leo went out against Toronto, so you guys have scored 4 goals in 5 games. How much did you guys miss him during this stretch run? Obviously, he's a deep.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. What perspective. You have different perspectives. At the beginning of the season, if you were to say in June that we're going to end the season with a trophy, you'd probably deem it a success. But after July, if you just say we're only going to end with 1 trophy, you probably wouldn't deem it a success. So, however you want to look at it, obviously, as professionals and as players of this club, we want to win everything. So for me, at least for me, speaking for me, it's not a success. Obviously, we won a trophy, and that's great. We won the first trophy in club history, and that's great. But we had an opportunity in the Open Cup, and I think we could have won that, and obviously with this one going in the playoffs, we wanted more from that. But again, you have to take the highs with the lows and lows with the highs, and that's just how it is.
It's a team.
All right, I clicked the wrong button on the initial soundbite or the initial clip there, so you were hearing Yedlin talk about Messi rather than the overall success or not. This was Drake Callender, and then I want to hear your guys' thoughts.
I think if you look at 2023 as a whole, I mean, again, like you said, we won Leagues Cup, we made it to the final in the Open Cup, and unfortunately, we won't be going any further in league. So I think to make 2 finals, win 1 is a good sign that we're headed in the right direction. I think success is an interesting word, but I think winning Leagues Cup was great, and I think for us to make it to a final Open Cup is great. But again, we're all competitors. We want to win everything. So for us not making the playoff hurts, because that's just the mentality of our team. We want to win it all.
Am I the only one that really, really likes the fact that neither one of them said outright it was a success? DeAndre Yedlin said outright it's not a success. Drake Callender He was a little bit more positive about it, but didn't outright say it was a success. Does anybody else like that about Inter Miami? I like that about them. I like that about them post game because it shows their hunger for more. It shows that they're not going to just be like, all right, well, yeah, we won the first trophy in franchise history, so it's a
But
success.
listen,
Because
it's
they could
like
have easily said that. They could have easily said that.
it's Leagues Cup, a tournament with no history, a tournament that may or may not be played next year. So I guess the
But they
players
could
know
have
that.
they could have
In the
easily
bottom,
said that. You know how teams are. If you want to put the
yeah,
positive spin on it, it could have been easy for them to say, yes, it was a
yeah,
success. I'm glad that they did it. I'm glad they did it because I don't think
yeah.
it was a success. I think it's a good step in the right direction for what they want to be, but I wouldn't call it a success. Would you, Andre?
I think winning Leagues Cup was a positive, but they couldn't keep up with that. Even with Messi, Busquets, and Jordi Alba, they couldn't keep up with that in the U.S. Open Cup and in the playoffs. And in the MLS season, they couldn't make it to the playoffs. They had opportunities, and that was one positive for the season. But if you analyze um, from last year to this year, last year they did make it. They did play that game in the playoffs. So in general, the team won that trophy, and that must not be forgotten, like Tata said yesterday. But in general terms, their play, their build up as a team did not improve, even though they won that trophy. And the example of that is that they didn't win U.S. Open Cup and they didn't make it to the playoffs. So they have a lot to build on. And the thing is that Leagues Cup was a short tournament, and it was only those games. And in those games, in a short tournament, it's always people like to say it's always easier. It is not. It's always hard to compete, but in that type of tournament, they were good with Messi, but when it counted for the rest of the season, they weren't, even with Messi and even with all the other players that came, not only Busquets and Jordi Alba, but the other players that brought in. So I think you can say the season was not a failure, but not a positive one. The positive was the cup.
I think it's a step in the right direction. I think it's the best way to put it. Jose, are you with me? Was it a step in the right direction? Of course not. Of course not. Let's go. Let's hear why you don't think it was a step in the
Jose
right
is going
direction.
to say, "Ooh, they are the best team in the world." Blah blah.
No,
I
I want to
think
hear.
I think it is a successful season. I mean, you got Messi. That's the first thing and the most important thing. You got a support system around him. You won your first title. You qualified to the Champions Cup. Um, yeah, I think there's no doubt in my mind that is a good season, a good enough season for Inter Miami,
No,
and
no, 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 no.
mainly
Hold on, Jose.
because
The question is not is
Good
it a
or
good
good
enough
enough?
season? That's not what we're
Uh-huh.
asking you, Jose. We are
well, it is a
asking is
successful
it a
season.
successful
Yes,
season? Okay.
yes, it
All
is
right.
success. That's success to me because I take into account what this team was at the beginning of the year, and I
They
never
ended up
would have.
being the same.
Not really, because they played the final in Open Cup
They
and they
lost
won Leagues Cup and they qualified to the
against
Champions
Houston
Cup.
Dynamo.
Yes, yes, but they made it. They made it. They
No,
played the
Jose.
final.
You
Okay, I'm
said that
sorry.
the
I'm
Houston
sorry.
Dynamo was going to lose 5-1, even though Messi wasn't going to play.
Hold on, Jose.
So
Yes.
Made it. I expected this team to lose against Miami FC.
All right. Hold on, Jose. Hold on. Hold your horses. Well, when the season started, right? I think it was many pods ago, before we were doing the video and visual pod,
Yes.
we talked about expectations for the season. Obviously, at that point, we didn't know whether Messi was coming or not.
Right.
But Inter Miami outwardly said they wanted to make the playoffs. Phil Neville was saying they wanted to be top 3, top 4 in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, they fell very well short of that. Yes, bringing in Messi is a massive, massive moment. Um, Part of the season's successes, winning the Leagues Cup was as well, making the Open Cup final. But I don't think you can outright call it a success from a futbolistic or un aspecto futbolístico. I don't think you can just from a soccer standpoint call it a success because they fell
They
short
won a trophy.
in the regular. They won a trophy. Yes, they won a
And they
trophy.
qualified to the most important tournament. in CONCACAF. The club
Jose,
level.
but after that, what did they show?
But that's 1 out of 3, Jose. That's one out
What
of
did they
three
show after
competitions.
that? What did they show?
They made the final in one of the two other. I mean,
Is that not what you would expect of? I mean, would
this
you
year,
expect it?
yes. This year, yes. If we're talking a year from now, and you tell me they won League's Cup, I wouldn't think that that's a successful season. Not at all. This year is a success because of the two jerseys that are right behind you, Franco. That's a success by itself.
But that is
for
out
have
of
been-
the field.
Jose is
Jose.
applying for Inter Miami's marketing team apparently because Jose, estamos hablando de temas
Yes.
futbolísticos. We're talking about soccer.
They didn't
results
show anything
on the
different.
field aspect.
Messi is football. Messi is football. I mean, if you don't think bringing the best player in the world is related, have you
Well,
guys?
Jose,
do you guys
let me tell
enjoy
you
watching
something.
Messi
I
play more
understand that,
than,
but
this Inter
yesterday,
Miami
So does,
team more
does
than-
PSG,
The stadium
does
was
PSG just
empty.
get called a successful season because they brought Messi over? No,
Messi-
Jose, listen.
No, this is another level. This is another level.
okay.
This
This
is
is-
not PSG. This is not PSG. This is MLS.
This is what I'll say.
of course,
I will say this, and I think Andrea will agree with me. They won the League's Cup, yes? Okay. They made the Open Cup final, and they didn't make the playoffs. Had they accomplished 2 out of the 3, then I think you could say it's a successful season. They got 1 out of 3. They needed to either the 3 goals were win Open Cup, win League's Cup, make the playoffs. Those were, I think, the 3 benchmarks you could have measured them up against.
This is a
and they got
second to
1. They
last
only got
team.
1.
This is
Jose.
the second to last team in the league. Why would
So how could you
expect
call
this
them a
team?
successful season? How could you call
It
it
is a successful. It is a successful season by the standard.
Jose,
that
they
Inter Miami
couldn't
has right
maintain
now.
League's Cup consistency. They couldn't
They won
maintain
League's
League's
Cup.
Cup consistency. Not
mean,
for
what do you-
US
what do you-
Open Cup and not
What's
for
League
MLS.
Cup do you want to keep up with League's Cup consistency and not win it, and you'll be happy with it? I think everybody would rather win a tournament than
Prince-
talk about consistency.
Princess Shorty says it depends on what the metric for success is. It feels like a mixed bag to me. A rebuilding
Right.
year and a step in the right direction. They need more time together to develop cohesion, but we'll get there. But again,
Right.
I agree.
Yeah, it's
That's
a
the-
Step
building
in the
year.
right direction. Step in the right
The
direction.
metric
Yeah.
of
But it's not a
success.
success.
I
It's not a
agree.
success.
The metric of success for me is significantly lower than it is for you guys, and that's the thing here.
Your expectations
I
for
would-
Miami
I
are
would
always very low. Always very
Like,
low.
Yeah, I think this team won the matchup against Toronto FC. That there was a fight for the worst team in the East, and Inter Miami won that battle. That's the standard that I have for
Barely,
this team.
barely, even
Barely,
with
but
Messi.
they won it. They won that battle.
Even with Messi.
fighting for last place. Let's just say for a minute, fighting for relegation. So let's just say Miami won that battle. That's the standard that I have for this team. They end up winning a trophy. Great. I think that's a success. You guys think differently. Now, I repeat, next year,
standards
12
change.
months from now, 12 months from now, if you tell me that Inter Miami won League's Cup, I can tell you that that's a successful season. I can tell you right now that the only way Inter Miami has a successful season in 2024 is if they win at least 3 trophies out of the 4 competitions that they'll be playing in. At least 3. If they don't win 3, it's not a successful season.
I would
Just
disagree
different
with that.
standard.
I would
It's a
disagree with
completely
that.
different standard.
You've gone from down here to like up here.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
think
don't
they
understand.
I
It's a
think they need-
different team. It's going
They
to be
need
a
to win
different
MLS
team.
Cup. They need to win MLS Cup next year. I mean, that's the standard you would hold them up to. I think that would be a big barometer. And then, how good of a run do they make in the Champions League?
I don't know. I have a very. I think the tournament that they really need to win next year, and this is probably a conversation for January, not for now, but I would rather have them have a good run in Champions Cup rather than winning the league. Because you can make it to the playoffs if you're in 7th or 8th place, and you'll be fine, and they will be fine. They have already proven this year without having a solid preseason that they can compete in elimination games. So I'm assuming they will continue to do that next year, and they should be even better next year in those type of games. So the league, it's
I'm host. I mean, I'm sorry, man. A team that's right now 9, 7, and 17 on the year in the regular season. That yes, they won a trophy and then they got to the final and another one. I mean, with the record that poorly and the start that
that's
they
what I
have and arrived
expected
at
from them.
midseason.
My standard is
Jose,
very
but
low.
how can you say you expected that from them if you're saying it's a success to win a League's Cup, which was, but
Right,
after
because
that
I
they couldn't maintain
expected
it.
this
They
team to
couldn't
be second to
maintain that
last team
rhythm.
or
They
last team in
every
the
team
East.
Cincinnati played the same amount of games as them in League's Cup, in US Open Cup, and they were not crying all around that they had 3 games in each week or whatever. And they went and won the Supporters Shield. And Inter Miami couldn't maintain it, even with all the money they spent on Farias, Avilés, and Diego Gomez, Busquets, and Jordi Alba. They couldn't. They barely ended up above Toronto.
I think you're only proving my point, really, with what you're saying. You're proving my point. I mean, they are not the best team in the world. So my standard for this team was for them to win absolutely nothing this year. I predicted for this team not to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, but you are the one saying that Messi is a success
successful
because
season.
he came. But he came, and even though with Messi, they ended up barely beating Toronto, the worst team in the league.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that. Barely beating Toronto.
They're what? They're 12 points ahead of them. So they
Not barely
will
beating Toronto.
listen. All right, Jose thinks it's a success.
Yes.
Andrea and I don't. Drake Callender and DeAndre Yedlin side with us.
I think it's
and,
a positive.
And they were
yeah.
those were your coaches at the beginning of the year in the media game, Jose. So
No, but I
your
like
coaches
I like
disagree
to,
with you.
Yeah, I would. Well, I don't know if I want to go this far, but no, I'm not gonna say that. But I like what they said. I mean, that's the right
I like what
approach
they
from
said.
a player. Yeah,
I agree.
I like
I
that.
agree. I think it could have been easy for them to be like, yes, it was a success. You know, we were in last place, and then we won a cup, and we made another fight. It could have been easy for them to label it a success. I like that they didn't. It shows to me a hunger for more that should serve them well going into next year. Now,
Again, I think it's about the standard. They had a higher standard for this team. Like Gregory said last night that he believes with this roster, they should be able to win everything next year. I don't know. You know,
Who said that?
standard. Gregory.
No.
I mean, they'll be favorites for most, if not everything, next year. Does that mean they're going
With
to
this
win
roster,
everything?
no.
With this
With this
roster, they are
roster,
not
no.
favorites.
They're
for
gonna
the-
make
for the
changes. They
They need a
championship.
deeper roster. Yeah.
Okay, so yesterday I spoke to a high-ranking source who told me next year's going to be big. Next year's going to be big. That's all they said with regards to that. But what I interpreted is the roster rules are going to change, and this roster is going to be bulked up in a very interesting way. I mean, we expect Luis Suarez to arrive. You know, at least I do. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the pod. But there are things that are in the works to really change this roster, because clearly a lot of this roster is not Tata Martino or to Tata Martino's liking, right? Like Tata Martino likes very technical players, good first touches, buena lectura, good reading of the game. You know, not all these players fit that mold. So there's going to be some changes, some significant changes this offseason. Let's listen to what Tata said post-game after that match, after the elimination from postseason contention, the loss to FC Cincinnati, about his overall viewpoint of 2023 and what's to come in 2024.
Sinceramente, yo esperaba que sea exactamente al revés de lo que sucedió. Mis expectativas eran esas. Armar el grupo, darle forma futbolística, no trascender demasiado en la League Cup, competir bien porque solo eran 2 partidos en la Copa y poder clasificar a los playoffs. Bueno, se dio exactamente todo lo contrario, como normalmente sucede cuando un entrenador piensa algo, de lo que yo pensaba. Pero habida cuenta de cómo empezó la temporada, si uno tiene en cuenta que de 3 torneos posibles hemos ganado 1, la verdad es que es un hecho muy importante para nosotros porque la liga tiene 28 equipos y seguramente va a haber solo Houston ganó, nosotros ganamos, quien gane el torneo será el tercer ganador y hay 25 equipos que no habrán ganado, así que si lo vemos desde ese punto de vista nos vamos conformes. y obviamente con un gran compromiso y mucho trabajo para hacer de cara a lo que viene.
Jose, so if you listen to Tata kind of sides with you a little bit there. Although I do think it's because he's based off of the results more directly, so he's gonna say, "Yeah, we're satisfied with how it went." And listen, again, one trophy, the first trophy in franchise history, that's a commendable achievement. But they wanted more, and they could have had more.
No,
They
no, no.
could
But
have
I
had.
think it's different, Franco. I think it's different for him because, if you look at the time that since the time that he took over, then for him, it is completely different because you cannot put on him the league because basically they were in a really tough spot once he got in, and then he gets Leagues Cup for a month.
Mm-mm.
So I don't think it's
I can't
responsible
give you
for,
that. I
for
can't
not
give you
making
that.
it to the playoffs.
I can't give you that. He's not fully responsible, nor is he mostly responsible, but he does shoulder some of the responsibility. This team is on a 6-game winless run across all competitions here at the tail end of the season. Had they done a little bit better, they're still in the fight. They're still have a chance to make the postseason.
How?
Had they not lost the last 6 games, well, you take one of the games off because it was the Open Cup final. Had they not lost or tied, had they not dropped so many points during these last 5 regular season games that they've played, they still have a chance. They might not have a big chance.
Leagues Cup.
I think this is a story. This is a moment for Inter Miami to show that they are a team like they say they aspire to be. Because for me, Tata talking about this, and you, Franco, you just said it. Oh, he didn't build this roster next year. Luis Suarez, Modric, whatever. People over 35 that they're trying to bring here to Miami. It's the same thing. If the results are not there, they're going to fire the coach. They're going to bring another one and say, oh, it's not the roster that they build. And Phil used that excuse for a whole year. Now Tata, even you, Franco, is using that excuse for Tata, which, well, it's true, but he brought Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba, Diego Gomez, Tomás Avilés, Facundo Farias, and
I don't know
Messi.
If he brought them. I think they just coincided.
Six players.
The young guys, yes. The young guys, yes. Not the veterans.
For
the veterans
me,
just coincided.
this is a breaking point for Inter Miami because if we are talking about this right now, giving excuses to Tata because he came in the middle of the year and all of the stuff that you're saying, but for me, it's stuff that I heard from Phil in the years that he was here, that this roster was not his, he didn't have the players that he liked, and then the next year when he brought the players that he liked, it didn't work either. They made it to the playoffs, but they were not a good team either. So
yeah, there's no way you can compare an Inter Miami team.
I don't think you can compare that.
You can compare an Inter Miami team with Messi.
If Inter Miami brings Luis Suarez, if Inter Miami brings Luka Modric, if Inter Miami brings all these players that are proven but are all over 35, and it doesn't work, it's going to happen again. And listen,
yeah, but it sounds like you're waiting for things not to work.
No, but it's just
we don't
an
know
excuse
that.
for me to say that Tata has an excuse of not making it to the playoffs because he didn't build a roster. For me, that's not true. He brought 6 new players in.
Hold on. Let's be clear.
He bears a percentage of the responsibility.
I agree with that. Fully.
Yeah.
His job is still to coach the team, the players he has in front of him. Right, like it's his job to get the most out of them. And did he get the most out of them during the stretch run?
No,
I don't think so. He deserves some criticism. He deserves some criticism for how the season has ended. Even he said, in the Tuesday press conference, pregame press conference, he's like, queremos cambiar la imagen en estos últimos 2 partidos. They want to change the image of how the season's ending during these last 2 games, and they weren't able to win on Wednesday night. So he definitely shoulders some responsibility. Again, not the majority, but he has some responsibility. Again, I think if they were to win Open Cup final, I would say this is a successful season.
Losing the Open Cup final at home, it's unexcusable.
That was a big one. That's a big one. And you can say Messi was out.
That is not an excuse.
Exactly.
It is an excuse.
No, it's not.
Jose, please. You said that even without Messi, they would win 5-0 against Houston Dynamo. In this podcast, there is video, please. In 4K, 4K.
Bring back the tape. I don't think Jose said that, though, Andrea.
No, he didn't say that.
But listen, the team, even without Messi, because Messi's not going to always be around. going to get called up to Argentina. He's not going to be around for every single game. Next year, the team has to find ways to perform, que funcione, que haya funcionamiento without Messi. They have to find ways to perform even when Messi's not out there. And they were not able to do that consistently during this final
And he
run.
even said it. He's saying it from now. We haven't even ended this season in MLS, and Tate's already saying the priority for Messi is the national team. So we know
that's good. That's good.
We know that
That's
they
not-
have.
that's not bad.
We
I
have
mean, the
FIFA
problem
dates
is that
in
Inter
March,
Miami, they don't have a team
April,
without Messi.
May, June. So that's a factor that Inter Miami and all of this is going to be a factor. It's not as easy as to say they are the favorites to win it from now.
Princess
Because,
Shorty,
you have to take
Princess
into
Shorty
account.
says, Andrea, you heard it from Phil for years. Tata's been here for a few months. Give him time and then judge accordingly. I agree with that.
Absolutely.
Let's see what he does this winter. Let's see how they retool the roster. I don't think they're going to completely blow it all up, but I do think they're going to retool and make some decent changes. So we'll see for next year. But we still have some time to more dive into and look ahead. Let's continue on with this season because I don't think this is an excuse, but I do think it's a reason. Now the team should have done better. They should have played better. If going back to the last point with Tata Martino, I mean, was playing Lionel Messi and Jordi Alba in that game against Toronto FC where they both, suffered the re-injuries or they re-injured themselves or they got aggravated and they had to come out. Like, was that the best man management of those two star players? I mean, I think there's room there for where Tata maybe didn't make the best decisions, which, son cosas para corregir for next year. You look at Diego Gomez, who also came back from his injury against Peru in the last international window, and then he went out, he re-aggravated it again. I think there were times where maybe the players needed a little bit more time. But anyway, I think the overall point is that this team, Leagues Cup, they were very, they went full throttle, very intense, and they were very successful. They won games, they pulled games out late, and then once that euphoria passed and things settled with the regular season, the reality settled in, which is players got tired, they were fatigued, and then came the injuries. And I think that is a big part of why they were so unsuccessful during this final stretch of the season. Now, it's not an excuse because you still have to find a way to get the job done. That's what they get paid to do, the team, the players, the coaches. But I do think it's a reason for why down the stretch run, el rendimiento, the performance levels weren't at the same as where they were during Leagues Cup. Obviously, Messi was a big factor in that. Messi being gone obviously took away Inter Miami's playmaker, their goal scorer. So they lost a lot without him on there. So I think those two things, not having Messi and then just starting to suffer injuries and fatigue, I think those two things played a big, big part. Let's listen to DeAndre Yedlin talk about those two things. This was from post-game after the loss to FC Cincinnati.
Andre, it's a team effort, but since Leo went out against Toronto, so you guys have scored 4 goals in 5 games. Now, how much did you guys miss him during this stretch run? Obviously, he's a DP, he's your playmaker, goal scorer. I mean, how much did you miss him?
Yeah, we miss him a ton. I mean, you take Mukhtar in Nashville, you're going to miss him. You take Costa out of Cincinnati, you're going to miss him. You take Carles Gil out of New England, you're going to miss him. There's a reason he's a DP. There's a reason he's the greatest player ever in the history, of this game. He scores goals, he creates goals, and he makes everybody around him better. So of course we missed him.
Missing Messi. This is on how the team felt, not only physically but mentally. And after such a grueling stretch where they practically played almost every 3-4 days.
It's tough physically. I think physically, people are beat. I think probably even mentally a little bit more. It's been a pretty emotional ride, I think. But it's one of those things that you just got to deal with. Again, everybody has to deal with it, and everybody's dealing with the same thing. So, do I think they should change it or not? I don't know. It's not really for me to decide. But I can tell you that physically we're pretty beat, and mentally we're pretty good as well.
Thanks, DeAndre.
Thanks.
So DeAndre's just echoing there a little bit of what I said. I think you agree, Jose, because I saw you nodding your head. I mean, missing Messi and then just the accumulation of the fatigue and the injuries started to pile up across the roster. That pretty much doomed Inter Miami to no playoffs.
Yeah, I think the most important thing, and I think the the lesson learned with the Leagues Cup this year, not only for Inter Miami but for every team in the league, is if you're gonna go all in that month, um, you better have a deep roster, because if you don't, and you're basically putting the entire season within the time frame of a month, right? Because you're going to be hurting for a while after it. So it's something that teams are going to have to find a way to approach. Maybe this is one of the reasons why the league should expand the possibilities of every team as to how many quality players am I allowed to bring in under the salary cap situation? Because if not, then teams are not going to start caring as much about Leagues Cup, because um, in MLS people care more about MLS Cup, and they fans want to win MLS Cup as much as the league wants to build Leagues Cup. U.S. Soccer wants to build Open Cup, and CONCACAF wants to build Champions Cup. The reality is that right now in the United States, people think MLS Cup is a top tournament. So people might not start teams. I'm sorry, might not start playing their starters in Leagues Cup if it's going to jeopardize the rest of the regular season. So I think for Inter Miami, that month gave them a sense of what they need to do in 2024 if they want to compete in all competitions. They need
I think they're going to change though, Jose. I think, and this is not inside information, just my supposition, my sensation from the outside. I think that MLS is going to allow for deeper rosters or bigger rosters because there's way too many competitions. There's way too many games.
Yeah.
You saw Andre Blake come out a few weeks ago and be very vocal about how tired they are and how many games they're playing. I mean, MLS rosters aren't deep enough for players to be able to take on this workload in such a short span. I mean, injuries start to pile up, and the quality starts to drop when you have tired legs out there.
Right. I think Jorge Mas talked about it. Do you guys remember? In the call that we had right after the Messi announcement, I think he talked a little bit about it. He said that changes will not be coming right now, but they might happen in the near future.
Which is why I'm saying I think it's going to happen.
That would be. I mean, we kind of need a Messi rule, right? I mean, that it must happen, especially if you want to compete with other leagues that they don't have a lot of problems with just putting money out there and bringing players. MLS needs to find a way to do something about it if they want to continue to compete.
All right, so let's switch gears because we just we talked a little bit there about, or a good bit there about Inter Miami's 1-0 loss versus FC Cincinnati. I didn't give the lineup, and I'm a stickler for doing so. So here you go. Drake Callender in goal. It was a 5-3-2. DeAndre Yedlin, Thomas Aviles, Sergio Kristoff, Kamal Miller, Noah Allen. Midfield 3, David Ruiz, your guys' boy, Sergio Busquets, and Benjamin Kremaski. Up top, Facundo Farias and Joseph Martinez. By the way, I got to ask you guys. I have to ask you guys. Your thoughts, very quickly, on David Ruiz's international break drama, where he did not show up for 2 flights to the Honduran national team camp, then came out and said publicly that he's committed to Honduras' national team. Very quickly, I know you guys are very passionate about this topic as Catrachos, as very proud Catrachos, but I just want to hear your thoughts very, very quickly. Andrea.
Well, I think David showed that he's a young player, a teenage player still, that's not very mature. And listen, it's not a secret for anyone that the U.S. tries to get everyone that is a dual citizen, a dual national or naturalized citizen that can play with any country, especially other countries in CONCACAF. So I think David, being as young as he is, has his doubts, and when he saw what a serious situation it is for you to not attend a call-up when you've been called for the national team in an official tournament, because Liga de Naciones is an official tournament, he thought about it, and he was obligated to make a decision and choose, and he ended up choosing Honduras. I think it was a mistake by him But I am glad that he thought about it and he made his decision, and I think he made the best decision for him.
I want to ask Jose a different question. I'm gonna give my opinion here because I'm not a catracho. Bad look, my friend. Bad look. And look, he's a young player, and like young people make mistakes when you're young, and you learn from those mistakes. But muy mal, muy mal, mal asesorado. The people that are part of his inner circle, just a bad look, man. How do you like not even communicate that you're not going to show up to two different flights, and then come out a few days later and say, "Oh, I'm committed to Honduras. It's not about the U.S. under 23 national team or the U.S. men's national team and all that." Like, it was such a poorly managed situation. And this is where the question I go to you, Jose. I'm not asking Jose the reporter. I'm asking Jose the Honduran. There's a lot of Jose in Honduras. How do you feel about David Ruiz right now? If you're a Jose in Honduras that does not cover Inter Miami and is not an Inter Miami follower, fan, media member, how does the Jose or the Andrea that live in Honduras feel about David Ruiz today?
I think he needs to make up some ground. I think if
Cut
I
your
think
hair, cut your hair.
Exactly.
I think he needs to find a way to prove on the field that he really wants to play and that he belongs with the national team. I think as a fan, I think that's what everybody's waiting for. I get the sense that people um I think he obviously took some damage, but I think because he was able to turn around quickly and realize he was making a mistake, then I think that really helped him. But I would say, there's a solid amount of fans that are waiting for him, like in the Pan American Games, which he'll be leaving next week to the Pan American Games. They expect him to put a good performance, and I think that tournament is very important for him to build a relationship again, because um, I don't think Inter Miami fans are aware of what David Ruiz meant for Honduras before he made the decision not to travel. Which, by the way, there are two things that I think we need to clarify here. And this is an interesting topic for me because people think, like from my tweets, people think that's my opinion, but it wasn't my opinion. I happen
Just
to
you
be
gotta hold it. You have to differentiate. That's why when I say stuff here or when I tweet, supposition or my sensation, not information or my opinion.
right.
People will confuse the two depending on how it's presented. So you gotta make it clear cut.
Right. Yeah, that's probably my mistake. But it was mainly information. For me, this was a situation where I barely gave my opinion, if I did at all. I'm probably giving my opinion here for the first time. Obviously, with Andrea, we talk about it, right? But um, I basically gave information away that I had.
And
He
David is also
actually,
lucky.
Hold on, Andrea. Hold on. I want to hear let Jose finish out, round out the thought.
yeah, he actually talked with the coach. He actually talked with
Yeah,
the
that's
coach.
what I
So
was going to
the fact that he didn't travel and the whole situation about him not talking to the national team, it was not necessarily true. He talked to the coach throughout the process, like the week before. So Reynaldo Rueda was aware of where his head was at. It's just that Reynaldo Rueda did not communicate as well to the rest of his team what was happening.
No,
That's the
but
one thing.
also David is very lucky that the coach is Reynaldo Rueda and that
Right.
Reynaldo Rueda
Yes.
saved face for him, because when all this controversy and he didn't travel and Rueda spoke to the press in the press conference previous to the game against Cuba in República Dominicana, Rueda was very forgiving of him, and he explained that he had talked to him and he explained that David was having these doubts and having these people talking to him and people coming, representatives coming to the game to watch him from the U.S. national team, coming to the game and talking to him. So Rueda saved face for him. So I think this is going to be very beneficial to David Ruiz, and also because Rueda is also a coach that has done this multiple times, not only with Honduras but with Chile, with Ecuador, always bringing players that are born in other places but that can represent that country and managing it well. So I think David is very lucky to have Reda in his corner and to have Reda have come out and talk and calm people down, and that opened the door for him to commit to Honduras, to feel secure of committing to Honduras and moving forward.
I'll say
And
this. I'll add
lastly,
this. I'm
if I
gonna
can
add
clarify
this.
the second thing that I wanted to say, that maybe helps you in your comment that you're about to make.
No, it's not gonna help me.
Yeah, probably. Okay, here we go. So he always wanted to play with Honduras. Andrea knows that. I know that.
No.
He always wanted
Oh,
to
my
play with
goodness.
Honduras. Now, here's the situation. This is where
I
agents
can't
get
believe
involved.
it. I think smoke is about to start coming in through the screens now. Because
No.
Jose, no nos vendas humo acá, bro. Nunca hemos ido a vender humo. No me vengas a vender humo. Do not sell us
I'm
smoke,
telling
bro.
you.
Miami
I'm
Total
telling
Football
you.
Radio has always been about being straight up and honest. And now you're going to come here and
Right.
sell smoke because it's a compatriot. No way, Jose. No,
I know the
literally
support
no
system.
way,
I know
Jose.
the support system. I
He
know
would have
everybody
gone.
around
He
him.
would have gone. He would have gone. There was been no second guessing. No, like, oh well, maybe There's
Franco,
no way
there
you
are
can just-
other factors. You remember MLS, the team, and everything.
There are so many things around
So
that
many
situation
things that go
Tata
into
we just
Martino
can't
account.
literally
talk
said
about
last
right
night.
here.
Tata Martino literally said last night that he will never get in a player's way of getting called.
It
But
was
that
not a
is
Tata
Tata.
problem. It was
That
not a
is
Tata
Tata.
problem. It was not a Tata
It was
problem.
not a Tata
Tata was
problem,
not.
Listen,
Even
all
Inter
I'm going to
Miami.
say is this. All I'm going to say is this.
Inter
We
Miami
can
is
move
not
on.
related to this.
All
Inter
I'm gonna say
Miami
is
is not
this.
related to this.
This is the only thing I'm going to say. When it comes to David Ruiz and Honduras, he better play well, man. Because that leash is going to be short with the Hondurans, I
Yeah.
imagine. I don't
Yeah, that's
imagine
true. Yes,
that
yes.
Hondurans are going to be, if he has one bad game, two bad games, they're going to be thrilled and they're going to support him and they're going to, they're going to turn on him very
Yes,
quickly.
yes.
He has
Yeah.
to work back and earn that trust again. He has to
Right.
perform well. The pressure will be on him consistently until he does it for a prolonged period of time. Then when he's gaining that trust, then maybe things will be smoothing over and this will be just a blip in the radar. But he's got some work to do, man. Yes, as soon as he starts having bad games, people are going to start reverting back to this and their thought on this if it happens in the near future. Anyway, all right.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, so we'll move on because I know you guys could probably have a whole podcast here on David Ruiz. So Inter Miami took on Charlotte FC once again at home at DraftKings Stadium on Wednesday night. This was the 2023 home season finale. I'm going to start with the starting lineup here since I didn't do that till the end in the last game. So it was a 4-3-3. Drake Counter in goal. DeAndre Yedlin, Thomas Aviles, Kamal Miller, Noah Allen made your back four. Gregory, Sergio Busquets, Diego Gomez, the midfield three. Gregory, the returning Gregory, was the captain. And up top, Nicolas Stefanelli on the right, Facundo Farias on the left, flanking Leonardo Campana as the striker. And Inter Miami played to a 2-2 draw. They went down twice in this game, but they found two equalizers. The first of which came from Nicolas Stefanelli deep in the first half stoppage time, 45+6. And then Robbie Robinson came off the bench to score an 84th minute tying goal. Andrea chuckles. Again, we don't have to dive into the game in a whole lot of detail because the bigger talking points are, the team and what's to come. But we can very quickly just give our thoughts. All three of us were there, very well dressed, all three of us. Jose in a suit, not that horrid orange thing that he's wearing right now. I was in a suit as usual, and Andrea was in a nice blouse. Jose, we'll start to you because Andrea's laughing away. Very quick thoughts on last night's draw, which again extended Inter Miami's winless run here across all competitions at the end of the season to 6 matches.
Since you're bashing my shirt, I'm gonna take some time and give my friends at United Star Soccer Academy a shout out. By the way, now that I think about it, and now I'm moving away from the topic, yes, of course, this is the David Ruiz Academy.
Por eso no quisiste vender humo. See,
This is not...
the story
this is
writes
not-
itself. The story writes itself. This is why you wanted to sell smoke earlier. See, I
David
knew it.
Ruiz is a product of United Star Soccer Academy. 7 years in this academy, and yet Inter Miami is blaming an academy player because he played for like 6 months with them. So
Jose,
never forget, my friends at United Star Soccer Academy. Just to be clear. Okay, so what was the question?
about the game, Jose. Your quick takeaways. Quick. Don't make it long. Quick
Yeah.
takeaways.
You know, I mean, it wasn't a good game. It wasn't a good game at all. You know, they missed a lot of opportunities. The goals are like they were like a festival, but for a horror show. It was just poor defending. Um,
It's
no,
poor everything,
it's
especially in the first half.
yeah. No, there was a point in the game where I felt like they really have to play 30 more minutes. It seems like Charlotte, they don't deserve to be a playoff team at all. Charlotte is terrible to me, and it was proven to me when the match ends in a 2-2 where they should have won that game, and the head coach is very happy, you know, clapping and congratulating his players for a 2-2 draw against the second to last team, already an eliminated team, Messi-less. I just don't. I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate that. So I didn't like the game at all. I don't think Charlotte should be a playoff team.
Listen, I mean, you got to give some context there, brother. The draw
What?
wasn't the best result for them, but
They were
it keeps
winning
them-
the game
Okay,
against
Jose,
an eliminated
but they're
team.
still alive. They're still alive, right? And
Yeah, but they don't depend on themselves. With
Correct,
that, with the win, they would have been already qualified.
But I could understand why a coach would want to try to keep it positive going into the
No,
final
man,
weekend.
I
as a
would
player.
have strangled everybody and told
Would
them,
you rather-
andan
if
caten
Messi plays on
maíz,
Saturday, they're-
¿qué te
they're done.
pasa? Robbie Robinson scored against you, like Robbie Robinson eliminated you from
It
the
was a great.
playoffs.
Hey, listen.
Be
We
serious.
criticized Robbie Robinson a good bit, but let's be fair to Robbie Robinson. That run was a perfectly timed run. Perfectly timed run. The finish wasn't the cleanest. It wasn't the best finish. But
If you miss
he got it
that,
done.
I mean, give Campana credit.
Oh,
give
Campana
Campana
played a heck
credit.
of a ball, but you have to make the run too.
If he misses
Robbie
that,
Robinson gets his cherry on top there for that. Yeah, he made a great run. That's not normally a run we've seen from Robbie Robinson. Now off the ball, in the box, not the run we've normally seen from him in his almost 4 seasons here. So I think he deserves a little bit of credit there, or more credit than you guys want to give him. With regards to the game, Jose, I agree with you. It was a very poor game across the board. It was really rough to watch, especially in the first half. You throw in the fact that the stadium was sparsely attended. I would share that footage, but that's going to take us on another tangent, and it's going to make this pod way too long. So we can talk about that later on, and the Messi effect and what it all means. I mean, this was a midweek match. It was a rescheduled game. There was no playoff implications for Inter Miami, and there was no Lionel Messi on the field. He was on a field-level suite after traveling back from beating my Peru 2-0. Anyway, it wasn't a great game. Both teams sloppy. Both teams with turnovers, bad passing, bad defending. There were times where both teams would cough up the ball in dangerous spots, and you'd see, the team that won the ball in those good spots ready to attack, and they'd have numbers, and you're like, all right, this is a great chance for them to put one on goal, and they would botch it, shoot it. Like Diego Gomez misses that one wide of the frame. He's wide open in the box. A great run
Noah
from him.
Allen.
But then Noah Allen has another one, later in the game where he's one-on-one. He got played through in on goal. Now, you have to, again, give some context. Noah Allen is zurdo, right? He's left-footed, and he was in un perfil derecho, right? He was not in the most comfortable posture, I guess is the best
you
way
watch
to
the
translate
game
that.
a second
And
time.
I haven't seen it back yet.
You have to. You have to.
Of course I have to.
You're
I watch
gonna
every
regret
game
what
back
you
a
just
second
said.
time.
You're gonna regret what you just said because he had plenty of time.
Plenty.
He had a lot of time.
I was going
dance
to say
around.
Stefanelli had
It-
more time, and Stefanelli he did
This
vary.
is what I'll say. Like, he's a young left back and an American left back. It's not the left back strength in general to put the ball in the back of the net. So I can understand why he didn't feel most comfortable or why he didn't realize the time that he had. That said, he still should put that chance away. I agree with that. And that's something that has to be improved, because if that was a final and he had that chance and he misses that, then that could prove very, very costly. So I agree with that. But I also take into the context that he's an American left back that's almost never probably put in that position to try to finish a chance, right? He's not getting paid to put the ball in the back of the net. He's getting paid to defend and whip in crosses and help in that regard. Anyway, the game itself, blah, but Inter Miami gets a point. So that helps avoid an overall sour feeling, a sour note. It wasn't completely sour. There was some excitement. There were some goals. The fans that were in attendance were able to cheer and celebrate. I know this firsthand because of how sparsely it was attended. This was more. It had like a more of an old school Inter Miami feel to it, like an old school Inter Miami game where the players, they weren't necessarily going on the bus and being charted over. Like they walked around the stadium. Fans took pictures and grabbed them. It wasn't like this whole tight security protocol like we've seen since Messi arrived. It felt a little more like the old days. And fans, I think, appreciated that. Got some selfies. I saw Gregory even after we had him in the post game mix zone. I saw him walking around the outside of the stadium, being stopped by fans as he was trying to get into his car, and he was taking pictures and talking. So it was like I won't say a nice, but it was a different way for them to close out the home stretch of their season. So
I wonder if that was the last time for a lot of people that had season tickets and that will not be able to renew. So if that's
maybe
the case for those people, then I'm glad they had that one last opportunity.
Maybe, and I think that's where we'll kind of quickly wrap up this game, because again, we don't need to dive into the X's and O's. I think one of the biggest talking points, if not the biggest talking point, was Gregory's return. Right, got injured earlier in the year, has missed a whole lot of time, but he made his way back into the lineup, reappeared. His first appearance in months. This is what he said when you guys asked him post-game, 1, about his return, 2, about his new contract that, yes, he signed in recent days. Inter Miami announced that Gregory has signed a new deal. Jose, give me the details here before we go to the clips. What is the contract through? What season is the contract through?
2025.
With an option for?
2026.
All right. So those are the details. And now this is what Gregory said about his return and about the new deal.
Muy contento, está de regreso. Fueron 8 meses muy duros para mí, pero tengo que dar muchas gracias a Inter Miami. Me dio todo el soporte para poder trabajar y poder recuperar de mi lesión. Y hoy pude estar regresando a jugar y no fue los resultados que esperamos, pero solo de regresar y ayudar al equipo ya estoy muy contento. Creo que también.
No, what just happened?
Creo que tenemos confianza que de 2 años que ha jugado acá, ¿no? Entonces esta renovación muestra que personas que trabajan en Inter Miami están pensando en bueno para el club. Son personas que trabajan en serio acá y claro, y dio mucha seguridad para hacer recuperación de mi lesión, y eso me deja muy contento para poder jugar y luchar por este equipo.
I have a question for you guys, because did you interpret that the way I did? He says, like, it gave him a lot of calm to continue working. So was this deal in the works for months and they just announced it now?
Yeah,
is that how you guys took it? That's what he kind of said, right? He's like,
this deal is because he was a DP player. This is the deal that they agreed with him for him to be not a DP player and open that spot for the players that came in.
Well, I think they had to buy him down first, right, to make room for the DPs. But I think that this deal was.
And that's why it's until 220. That's why it's with an option until 2026, because you need to give. And we talked about this in that time that we were discussing that Gregory was a DP and that they needed to do something, that they were going to give him a lot of years and split up his money so that everything is in order according to MLS rules. And I think that's what the team did.
That's our supposition, not inside information.
Yeah, our supposition.
Let's listen to it again. Because he says, it allowed me to, more along the lines of, it allowed me to focus on my recovery. This deal allowed me to focus on my recovery.
Creo que también confianza que de 2 años que ha jugado acá, ¿no? Entonces esta renovación muestra que personas que trabajan en Inter Miami están pensando en bueno para el club. Son personas que trabajan en serio acá y claro, y dio mucha seguridad para hacer recuperación de mi lesión. y eso me deja muy contento para poder jugar y luchar por este equipo.
He says, me dio mucha seguridad para hacer recuperación de mi lesión. So translate that. The deal gave me a lot of assurance, a lot of security with regards to being able to do my recovery from my injury recovery. So it sounds like this has been in the works for months and months. Yeah. It just got announced now, right before he made his return. So good on Inter Miami. They were clear.
It got announced because we saw the salaries. The salaries came out.
Well, the salaries did come out. I wish we could talk about that on this pod, but this again we'll be here way too late or way too long if we do that. We'll save that maybe for one of the end of the season.
Yeah, don't worry. We're gonna talk about it. Yeah.
So Gregory, I don't.
We gotta do end of the season. We gotta do awards. We have to do an awards show.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I think. I don't think there's going to be any surprises in the
No, but
awards.
we need to add. Hopefully, people can help us out with in the chat. I think we should add like rookie of the year, most improved. Other than the usual, because we have
I mean, I think again we can do that, but I think every answer is pretty straightforward.
Who knows? I don't think we all agree on who is the MVP.
That's why I stopped because we have to do that show. I'm not gonna say anything. We have to.
All right.
We have to.
Well, Jose asked about the return from injury. Andrea asked about the contract. I asked about, jokingly, whether he'd be a DP, right? Because at the beginning of the year, the questions were, is Gregory a DP or not? And there was all this murkiness. This is what Gregory said in a very refreshing manner, whether he's going to be a DP going forward or not.
Comenzamos el año preguntando, ¿Gregory es DP o no es DP? ¿Gregory para futuro es DP o no DP?
Yo quiero. Yo quiero.
Gracias, Gregory.
So, yo quiero, aka I would like to be. Hopeful that he will be, of course, because there's other signings to be made, and obviously the players already that have that label. So, all right, very quickly, we're switching gears one more time. Still got two more topics to talk about. Is this weekend? Inter Miami closes out the season away to Charlotte FC. It's a rematch of Wednesday night's game. It's at Bank of America Stadium, in Charlotte, North Carolina. The biggest talking point is Messi going to play or not, right?
Home of the Mexican national team.
Messi said after helping to throttle Peru with his brace that he plans to play. Tata, when he was asked, didn't really confirm whether Messi would play. This is what Tata said on Messi's status on Wednesday night during the post-game press conference when asked about the Argentines' availability.
Escuché la entrevista, estoy al tanto de lo que dijo. Hoy alcancé a saludarlo antes del partido, pero no hablamos en profundidad. Mañana seguramente hablaré con él, pero lo más importante acá es los 90 minutos que jugó el partido de eliminatoria, que se sintió bien, que no estuvo confiado y no preocupado por el tema de la lesión, que a veces la cabeza juega un rol importante. Y mañana evaluaremos para ver si está listo también para jugar el sábado en el entrenamiento. Él llegó esta mañana acá.
So, very quickly, just a simple yes or no. Andrea, does Lionel Messi play on Saturday on turf field? Forgot to mention turf field. Does he play on Saturday?
No.
Yes or no? Jose?
Yes, I think he plays.
Starter or substitute?
I think he'll start, but he'll come out early in the second half.
Okay, so we all have different answers. I agree with Jose that I think he plays. I think it'll be off the bench. Now, I'm not going to ask you guys to dive into the game and do a whole analysis because, again, Inter Miami, it's a meaningless season finale for Inter Miami, as this pod has been titled. It's Messi's meaningless season finale as well because there are no playoffs for La Rosanera. So, the result doesn't matter, how much does the performance matter to end the year on a, well, I guess not ending the year because they still have the two friendlies in China, but to end the regular season on a positive note? How much does it matter, if at all? Back to you, Jose.
Doesn't matter at all. It's just another opportunity to watch Messi play with Inter Miami.
But
You know, that's
what will Tata look and his staff look
nothing.
to get out of this game?
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. He was asked about it, in at the end of the press conference after the game, and yeah, I didn't buy that. I don't think these two games, matter at all. I don't think they, these two games are basically the same as the two games that they'll play in China. It's just doesn't matter at
Do
all.
you do
Things will
you think?
change. They'll have
I,
preseason. Not none of this matters. You can carry any momentum with this group coming into next year. Any momentum that you can carry comes from League's Cup. It doesn't come
and
from MLS.
Andrea, do you think? I'm not going to say there's any player that they're not considering that's all of a sudden going to score. Like let's say Robbie Robinson, for example. I don't think if he scored on Wednesday and then he scores again this weekend, let's just say that happens, that he would change their mind from no to yes. But I think if you're a fringe player that they're not sure on, I think you could help your cause. I think that's the only thing that is at play here if you're an Inter Miami player or Inter Miami staff. I'm sure they've made up their minds on mostly everybody, but if there's one or two players that they're like, maybe, maybe not, whether we bring them back, this is an opportunity for them to make their case or not make their case. I think that's the only thing here that's at stake for Inter Miami or Inter Miami players.
Yeah, I think these two games were for that, and that's why we saw some players get opportunities, like Stefanelli, who got an opportunity to play in this game against Charlotte. I think we'll see other players that have not played a lot this season on Saturday. I think we'll see a completely different starting. We'll see McVeigh, we'll see Saylor, we'll see Robbie Robinson, Victor Ulloa. I think we're all gonna see all those players that are most definitely leaving, and we're gonna see some players that have contracts but have to win a spot in this team. We're gonna see Jan Mota, we're gonna see Nicolas Stefanelli, and we're gonna watch them play. Maybe we'll see Joseph play his last game with Inter Miami, and that is what I expect from this game on Saturday. It's all that it is, because as Jose says, this is the same, and as those friendlies, they are going to play in China.
So you expect a reserve-filled lineup on Saturday? A
Yeah,
lot of substitutes.
yeah.
Jose, do you think it's going to be a mixed lineup or do you think it's going to be a strong lineup?
No, it's gonna be a mix. It's gonna be a mix. I think. Uh,
As mixed as Andrea says it's going to be, 'cause I don't think we're going to see that many.
no,
I don't think we're going to see
no.
McVay, Saylor, Ulloa, Robinson. I think it's going to be mixed. I think you'll see some of the players play
No.
I
that are
think we'll
starters.
see
I
Jordi
think-
Alba maybe, but
I
I don't
think
think we'll
they-
see Busquets.
I think they have, I think they're pretty clear. I mean, if you listen to Tata's pressers from 3 weeks ago, he's already thinking about 2024. I mean, he's well ahead of everybody else, and it's a little bit unusual because normally a coach will tell you, well, we're thinking about the game over the week, and once we're done with that, we start thinking about everything else. But he feels so comfortable right now telling everybody that he's already thinking about 2024. So that's why I'm telling you, these two games, they don't matter. They don't matter. Everything that happens in these two games will be erased within a matter of minutes after the season is officially over. On Sunday morning, they are already putting everything in plan for preseason. That's the way I think they're working on it, because that's the way Tata has approached the whole situation. And I'm just gonna add one more thing, because I think we've mentioned Saylor, McVeigh, and I'll add a couple more to the list. Ascona, which you all know I personally love and I think is a solid player. Ulloa, those four players. I'm going to stop there at four. Those four spots in the roster for next year, you just can't have players that will not be a part of their rotation. You know, I mean, you can't have four spots when you're competing in four competitions and you expect to win four competitions. You just can't have four guys that basically play 10 minutes every 6 months. It's impossible. I mean, they really, that's where they need to do the work. I'll leave it there.
Okay, so I'll say this. I'll say this. I think we're going to see a mixed lineup. I don't think it's going to be as drastic as Andrea said. I think you'll still see some of the younger guys like Farias, like Kremaski, maybe like Gomez. I think they're going to give them, more minutes to give them rodaje, just more experience, more seasoning. I think Messi plays, but I think he comes off the bench. Do we see Busquets? Do we see Jordi Alba on turf in a meaningless game? I don't think so. I think you'll see, Gregory Jean Mota.
No, I don't think we'll see Gregory.
You don't
I
think
asked him yesterday, and he's practically
He said he wants to play.
The doctor said no. I don't think he'll risk it.
I think especially with Joseph, with Jordi and Busquets, I think they really need them for the China tour. So they better take care of them and not risk them.
That's
them
why I
on
think
turf.
Messi will not play on that turf. That field is horrendous. That field is
I think
horrendous.
this is a situation where Messi wants to play.
Yeah, maybe he
think
wants to
it's a
play, but
situation where
for
Messi
business
decides.
side and for Inter Miami, I don't think
Messi's
I'm
no
with
Gregory.
Jose. I'm with Jose. I think it comes down to what Messi wants in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Messi saying post game after beating Peru that he's going to play, like saying it like just outright that he's going to play, where Tata's been like, oh, we'll see, we're going to assess him. Like those two things aren't jiving. So, but if Messi wants to play, I imagine they're going to let him play, although they'll try to take the precautionary measures.
That's why I think this is a situation where Messi wants to play, and then Tata comes and goes like, "Can we do 60 minutes? You think we can do 60 and that's
30
it?"
minutes. 30 minutes.
Yeah, 30.
Yeah.
He will say,
He'll
"Ha
probably
visto
start
la
with 30.
cancha? Ha visto la cancha, Leo? Ha visto esa cancha, Leo?" It's like seriously. For me, it would be a risk for Messi to play in that field, but I agree with you guys that
China is the most important thing right now.
Yeah,
they need to have him ready for China.
Imagine if Messi gets injured against a team that doesn't matter, against a team that
if he doesn't go to China, the tour is over.
It's over. Exactly.
So it's been a jam-packed episode, and we're not done yet. We've still got a couple more quick talking points to talk about. And I think it's a good transition because Jose talked about how Tata's been, instead of just focusing on the end of 2023, he's already been talking about 2024. And that's where we transition here. Because on Tuesday, I asked Tata Martino about the latest links with Luis Suarez, who I am convinced and have been convinced for months that he's coming. Not inside information, supposition. Reading between the lines with everything that's happened since the summer. Grêmio, the Brazilian club, has said that he's going to leave at the end of the year. That he will go on a free. He will be a free agent. I fully expect Inter Miami to capitalize on that. So I asked Tata Martino on Tuesday about whether or not they plan to count on him or with him in 2024. Tata did not outright deny the possibility. He instead says that they have an analysis with Luis Suarez and an analysis without Luis Suarez for what 2024 could be like. So listen to what Tata said, and then we'll quickly dive into our thoughts.
Mira, nosotros oficialmente, obviamente todavía nadie nos ha dicho nada. Nosotros dentro de nuestro análisis de la temporada que viene y de las necesidades que podemos tener, tenemos un análisis con Luis y un análisis sin Luis. Así que llegado el momento y cuando nos oficialicen la situación de Suárez respecto a Inter de Miami, estaremos preparados para ir por el camino que corresponde. Gracias. Bueno, gracias, buenos días.
Luis Suarez is coming, right? You get your Luis Suarez jerseys bought already, custom make them and get them ready, right, Jose?
Yes, I mean, come on. If we ask him if Cristiano Ronaldo is coming, he's going to tell us, well, we have a plan if Cristiano Ronaldo comes, but we also have a plan if he doesn't. I mean, do you make a plan for a player that you don't expect to have? I mean, it makes no sense, right? So he's basically saying...
I know Jorge Mas already said it, that once he was a free player, they will go for him. So I think...
And that's another Messi situation, by the way.
Yeah, that's Messi.
That's another Messi...
Let's be serious here. It's not... Yeah. It's not for Inter Miami. I don't think they would have gone. I don't think any MLS had the chance, and maybe Inter Miami had the chance to sign Luis Suarez once he left Europe, and no one did. That's why he ended up in Brazil, no? So
I think LA Galaxy, they were in the mix.
Yeah, but
but
he didn't go to LA Galaxy, right?
yeah, they didn't pull the
So
trigger.
he's coming just because he's a friend of Messi, and they have a pact, a brothers pact of retiring together and in a team. And they had that pact with Neymar, and unfortunately Neymar is now injured, so it's only gonna be Luis Suarez and Lionel Messi. But I think, yeah, people can expect poor Leonardo Campana. He's gonna get stripped of the number 9, and he's going to have to play with another number.
Tank 721 says El Vampiro viene a Miami. Which,
Listen,
listen,
people,
his
I don't
nickname is
know
El
if
Pistolero. His
people
nickname
are
is El Pistolero.
so, I don't know if people are very excited because, listen, Miami is a town that you have Real Madrid and Barca people. If you are an Inter Miami fan that loves Real Madrid, you don't like Luis Suarez. And if you are a Inter Miami fan that loves Barca, of course you're gonna like Luis Suarez. But Luis Suarez is not like Messi that everyone is going to love him. I think he'll have to work a little bit harder for him to be
Well,
loved.
He's
I
going to
think
kill it, man.
there's
He's going to
one
kill
small
it.
thing that I
He's
think you're
going to
missing there.
kill it.
I think there's one thing you're missing there. Inter Miami right now,
Is
Inter Miami,
Barca
they
retired?
don't have Barca or Real Madrid fans. They have Messi
Messi
fans.
fans.
So if Messi tells them Luis Suarez is the next big thing, they'll buy it.
Joseph Martinez is being
Poor
replaced
Joseph.
as Lionel Messi's best friend and sidekick. It's going to be Luis Suarez, and Joseph Martinez is
Yes.
going to be like,
Poor Joseph.
Yeah,
You know,
not
I feel
anymore.
bad for Joseph because he hears Tata's
No,
this
no, but I mean,
saying
you
from
can't feel
Tata,
bad for
and he's
Joseph.
like, well, I have no chance. Like Pizarro, like when Tata said, oh, I would
No,
love to keep Pizarro, but he has to leave. The same is with Joseph because he has to leave to make room for Luis Suarez.
that's the last player that will feel bad for. I mean, no way. He got a chance to play as a starter where he
Yeah.
didn't deserve to be a starter in this
Yeah.
team. He was Messi's friend, and that's why he started most of the matches he did. So I won't feel
before,
bad for him. He had his shot.
before this potentially spreads, El Vampiro is not Luis Suarez's nickname.
Can you imagine
Like,
if Listen, Luis Suarez is not only the vampiro, the pistolero.
no,
Luis
but
Suarez
es un
is
pistolero, no es el
very,
vampiro.
very polemic player. I don't think
I can't wait. I cannot wait. I cannot
MLS
wait.
is
I
going
can't
to
wait.
scramble. Listen to this. I am saying this October 19th, 2023. Luis Suarez is gonna be a mess for MLS because he is a very polemic player with celebrations. He's even been accused of racism. He's been accused of biting people. He's been accused of everything, of being tramposo, of everything. So it's gonna be interesting to
He's
see
an
him
old
in
school
MLS.
player. I don't think he's controversial because of the world we live in right now. But I think he's an
how
old
he
school.
is and how he competes. and
Yeah,
how he
it's
carries
his
himself.
personality.
Yes.
But it's gonna be interesting to see because MLS tries to control everything. You cannot celebrate like this, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. So it's gonna be interesting to see.
Super Kaja Fragilistic says Suarez score almost in every match and assist in every game. Messi close friend and they're understand 100% playing.
Yeah.
Listen, I think he's going to come in and kill it. Yes, he's not going to press a whole lot. He's not going to run a whole lot. But if you give him the chances that Campana and Suarez and Joseph Martinez have gotten inside the box, I think he's putting most of those away. So
He's gonna be like
I think
Higuaín,
he's
scoring and scoring goals.
Yeah, I think the main problem for him could be for how long can you
physical.
keep him on the field. If he's on the field, he's gonna be successful, just like Messi. Whenever he's on the field in MLS, he's gonna be the best player. I think Suarez is gonna be the second best player on the field.
all right. So the last talking point here is we all expect Suarez to be here. Andrea, you agree? Yes, that was
Yeah.
a yes. Okay. All right. The last talking point is some friendlies. Inter Miami announced, since we last recorded, they will be going on a tour to China. And please forgive me if I butcher these pronunciations. I don't speak Mandarin, so I don't exactly know. I should have prepared better. Yes, I should have prepared better. So Inter Miami will go to China. And their first friendly will be against Qingdao Hainu FC on November 5th. The following game will be against Chengdu Rongcheng. I just did it in Spanish pronunciation. Rongcheng on November 8th. So 3 days later. No broadcast details yet. No ticket information just yet. But it's Inter Miami's first ever international tour to extend their global reach. PR talk. I mean, it's the end of the year friendlies. I don't really know what what you look to get out of them besides just Messi going on the field, selling tickets, selling jerseys. I mean, we'll get to talk about the games. We'll get to watch the games. Who knows at what hours we'll have to be up to watch those matches because we're probably going to have to be up, some unseemly time. Something that Jose, I know, is going to interrupt his beauty sleep, and Jose is a stickler for his sleeping periods. But interesting tour that they'll go on. I don't think any of the three of us are going. I wish we were. I wish we had a little more notice, then we would have been able to maybe get that lined up. But I don't think we'll be there.
They don't want us, Franco. That's why we didn't get any notice because
I've
been getting notices to go with the Dolphins to Germany since 7 months ago, and Inter Miami couldn't tell us that we've been covering the team since day one, a month ago even. But well, it is what it is.
Princess Shorty says, geez, Franco, you didn't learn Mandarin during the pod break? Slacker. I like that. No, I'm still brushing up on my Mandarin. It'll be interesting to see. This is the last thing we'll talk about, and then we're wrapping it up. No final thoughts, nothing else. Tata, in yesterday's press conference, all but confirmed that friendly that's being reported against Newell's old boys, his old team, Leo Messi's old team, that will be taking place. He didn't say when. It's been reported for February in preseason. But he all but confirmed it. This is the clip of him all but confirmed.
Forma parte de nuestra preparación. Es decir, para mí particularmente es muy lindo poder jugar un amistoso con mi equipo, pero forma parte de lo que tenemos pensado para el próximo año, ¿no? Para llegar de buena forma.
Forma parte de lo que tenemos pensado. So it's part of our plan
para el próximo año,
for
next year.
Right, so for 2020, it'll be in February 2024 is what's being reported. So it's expected to be at DraftKings Stadium, which it'll be a nice event. It's Messi, Tata, the storylines will be nice there, and I'm sure it'll be a sellout, no doubt. All right, we'll leave it there. It's been a jam-packed episode. I know Jose probably is dying to give us some more David Ruiz fodder. No, sir. Actually, I just realized that I have my steamer here where I record, and I could have plugged it in, and while you were talking, just like this, just smoke could have started, but it would have been fantastic. I should have thought of that sooner.
Listen, maybe Robbie Robinson came in and told David, man, go to your national team or you're never getting called up to the United States. Don't make the same mistake as I did. Avivate, Chile.
Speaking of that, I was just in Chile, and it was really nice. Cold, really nice. The Peru game, not so nice.
Cold.
Poor Franco. At least Honduras is doing a little bit better. So.
Okay, so that does it for this pod. It was a long one, but I figured it would be because we had a lot to cover. We'll keep the next one shorter. We will be back again. I don't know. I don't want to say early next week because we might have some post-season availability with some of the head officials or the executives of Inter Miami. But we will definitely be back at some point next week to recap the season finale in short gist, but also give our overall thoughts on the season, maybe give out some awards, and of course talk about anything that is said either by Jorge Mas, Chris Henderson, Tata Martino.
What we said, who was going to be the MVP.
Yeah,
that's not going to be very good.
No, I said Pizarro.
I don't remember who I said.
Campana. We
Campana,
both said Campana.
Yeah, you said Campana.
We both said Campana. All right, well, we'll leave it there.
We already ruined the last show.
So for Jose Armando, a.k.a. Island Jose, for Andrea Llanes, a.k.a. Ajicita, I am Franco Panizo. You have been listening to and watching Miami Total Football Radio. We'll talk to you guys again in a few days.